There's a line in the movie. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Gnostics took it one step further. The greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world that he is God. In other words, from the Gnostic point of view, what we have been worshipping for thousands of years isn't God at all. It's a demonic force.
The Sumerian texts allude to the same principle that a great administrator named Satam looked over the people of the Garden of Eden. His name in the Sumerian text was the god Enlil, and his hopes were to enslave the human race. He then appears in the garden as Yahweh, the biblical god. The serpent in the garden, however, was another Sumerian god named Enki, whose desire was to free the human race through knowledge. How did this concept of good and evil get so flipped upside down?
In 2003, we discovered a degeneration in the brain that seemed to be programmed due to a molecule called PP1. We don't know why. We cannot explain why. But at a certain point, humans have this incredible ability to forget. This molecule affects the brain, and it is a degeneration of memory. I think that there is a programmed blockage, which was performed on the human brain. What is interesting about great myths, whether it is for Native Americans or for Africans very much as well, is that they have the ability to constantly recite those myths, their history, so as not to forget. Some people, the Hebrews as well probably, have managed to have this ability to pass on information across generations.
Could there really be a molecule that blocks our true remembering of who we are? Was this a programmed manipulation of our genetic code? This might explain our constant search for where we as humans originated from and who or what might be God.
The Garden of Eden to the Gnostics refers to the center principle from which all creation springs. So it's the pre-existent spirit of God, so to speak. So this is before time and space. So it's the circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. So everything that exists in this world pre-exists within what the Gnostics refer to as the pleroma, which means fullness.
It's hard to imagine where the pleroma could be located with our current point of view. Some say that it is linked to dimensions, but I think that inherently the idea of pleroma is more linked to frequency, another frequency.
If we go back to our understanding of quantum physics and the creation of matter, could this frequency transcend into our physical universe today? And how do the Gnostic texts explain this?
There's a pre-existent tension in the pleroma where the archetypal deities or archangels almost demand their expression or substantiation within the playing fields of creation itself, because they pre-exist in this state of light that they almost need to express these ideal forms that they represent. So what Sophia, the myth, kind of represents is the urge for them to create themselves.
The goddess Sophia, the Aeon, Sophia, whose name, of course, means wisdom. And she enters a trance-like dream state. And in that dream state, she envisages a singularity, the anthropos, humanity.
So she exits the pleroma and then falls into a state of deficiency. And in that state of deficiency, she splits. So there's a higher version of Sophia that remains in the pleroma, which is kind of like her celestial twin. And then the lower Sophia exits and becomes the physical universe, the cosmic, the soul of the world, which is deficient because now evil is introduced into that, or a deficiency or a corruption.
As a result of that fall, tearing through the layers and levels of reality, is created the entity that the Gnostics call the Demiurge. And he is also the creator of the physical earth and of the beings who dwell upon it. It is Sophia's work that, inserted into the heart of humanity, deep within us, is this divine spark, that we are fundamentally creatures of spirit immersed in matter.
If